Welcome to another Fable modding video. However, this time I felt like doing something a little different, which is to go over a few quirks and facts related to Fable modding. By this I mean that a lot of information of this video can only really be found if you spend a bit of time modding the game and looking at what is left in the game files. Hopefully this is something you guys find as interesting as I do, and if it goes well I might see about doing more videos in this type of format. With the introduction out the way, let's not waste any more time and just get on with the video. We'll start off with a couple of questions most people interested in Fable modding have likely asked themselves when starting out. Where do I get mods, and how do I mod the game? Usually, I would suggest visiting the Fable TLC mod forums, as that is where most of the mods and tools for the game originate from, since they were originally the most developed community for Fable modding back in the day. However, their site is mostly vacant now. Not a lot of people are aware of it, and it's full of dead links from years ago. That being said, I still recommend checking it out for guides and extra information regarding the subject, which is how I got started. Now we'll go over a more modern solution to this problem. The Nexus mod forums. Not a lot of people know about this, but just recently the user Tell Shadow managed to get a Nexus mod page sorted out for Fable The Lost Chapters. If you ever want to look for an easy way to find some mods and post your own, then this is definitely the place. As I mentioned, it was only recently created, so don't expect a lot of variety if you decide to visit. However, myself and some other modders have been doing our best to add more content whenever we have the time. The site's not too hard to navigate, and downloading mods is really simple. If you do plan on starting out, I recommend picking up the Fable TLC tool pack. The same user, Tell Shadow, managed to package all of the tools that were originally found on the Fable TLC mod forums into one folder, so you don't have to search around for them. You should read the mod page for information on what each tool does. The two main ones that will allow you to make important changes to the game are Fable Explorer, the ShadowNet build, and Chocolate Box. Now that you know where to find the modding tools, we will move on to the actual game and mention things that can be found while using them. This is the program Chocolate Box, which allows you to use a region editor for editing maps in a similar fashion to how the developers would have done it. The program has more features than that, but for the sake of the video, that is all you really need to know right now. The first weird and quirky thing we'll be looking at is something a friend of mine mentioned a while back, which is that for some reason a set of beds can be found underneath a hill behind the servants' quarters of the Heroes Guild complex. They are assigned a CTC-owned entity entry, which means they are supposed to be a part of the Heroes Guild, and possibly only usable by NPCs since the player won't own it. However, reaching them is not possible for either the player or an NPC, which makes their placement a little confusing. I even tried to test it out for myself and see if any NPCs sleep in the beds, just to be sure, but as expected, you never find anyone sleeping there. The guild itself has more than enough beds for both the apprentices and the servants. These beds can't be found anywhere else on the map, so I can only assume that they were used at one point in development, and rather than deleting them, someone just shoved them back here for some reason. Next up is the mysterious 31st silver key. As you might know, there are 30 silver keys that can be found throughout Albion. They can be found scattered around, in containers, in fishing spots, and even digging spots. These are then used to open the silver key chests that are also spread around the game's maps, often contain useful items and legendary weapons. So, what's this about a 31st silver key, you may ask? There are 3 prison cell maps in the game which are used for the Bargate prison quest. Prison Cell 1 is the map where the hero is held during this same quest. It turns out that the prison guard who talks to you when you first spawn is actually holding onto a silver key the whole time. By using Chocolate Box, we can check the NPC's CTC container reward, and sure enough, there it is. The key can't be required by regular means, since the hero is always stuck in the holding cell until the guard has despawned from the map. If you could obtain this key from the guard, it would make 31 the total amount of silver keys in the game. Even if you could do it, there's not a lot of uses for it, since you've been probably collecting silver keys on your way here, and it would just be like adding another to the pile. Perhaps the silver key allows the guard to shut your prison cell or something. Another possible reason for this is a cut feature from the game known as pickpocketing, where the hero was able to steal objects found in certain NPCs' pockets, which means that this prison guard's key could be a leftover from this cut mechanic and someone just forgot to remove it from the NPC, but it's still an interesting find nonetheless. As mentioned before, you usually can't acquire the silver key, but just as a test, I got up to this part in the game and used a teleporter to get outside of the cell so I can kill the guard and see if he drops the key. Funnily enough, unlike the other guards, he doesn't consider you an enemy and will just ignore your presence since it's a scripted sequence anyways. It can take a while since you'll only have your fists or a stick, but if you can kill the guard, then you have yourself 31 silver keys. Thanks to Hot Shot Wire for making a video on the subject, which is how I originally found out about the 31st silver key. The video link will be in the description below. Although this video was uploaded by Hot Shot Wire, they say in the comments that the whole 31st silver key was actually discovered by Atem. But I still recommend checking out his channel and seeing what other content he has in regards to speedrunning, Fable glitches, and all that type of stuff. We might be done with silver keys, but we aren't done with Bargate prison yet. There are 2 interesting things about the version of the prison that you see from the distance inside the map Prison Path. By using a mod known as the Free Roam app, it is possible for us to explore any map we want by removing the boundaries that force us to stay in a set part of the map. This means you can walk across any terrain that is a part of the map, including inclines and water. The Free Roam app removes the pre-existing boundaries of a map and allows the player to walk anywhere. Everywhere highlighted grey is meant to be sections where the player can traverse, but the Free Roam app highlights every section of every map and turns it grey, meaning you can walk through anything that doesn't have physics, like trees for example. Thanks to the Free Roam app, I am able to walk through all this water and reach this version of Bargate prison. You could use a teleporter to get here, but without the Free Roam app you will not be able to explore it properly since you won't have removed the map's boundaries. Upon inspection of this prison, you will find that this isn't exactly the same place as the prison you enter when doing the quest. This is merely a hollow shell to sell the idea that the prison is in the distance. Just in case you haven't seen it before, I'll just walk through the whole map and show you exactly what it looks like inside. As you can probably tell, we are still in Bargate prison, but only temporarily. An example of the next subject can be found here, which is these weird pink textures. They appear to have purple text on them too. The three places where I know you can find these type of textures is here in Bargate prison, on this hill at the back of the picnic area, and behind the bronze gate near Snowspire. This one being the weirdest for sure, as it has a giant gap between it. You may think this is really strange, since there is no form of pink or purple terrain that can normally be found in the game. However, there is a reasonable purpose for it, and why they only show up in parts of the map that you can't normally access. You see, the game uses what are called engine themes. These themes are based on each type of environment that you can find in the game. So for example, the terrain and trees that can be found in Greatwood are its own theme, the same for Darkwood, and so on and so on. But when you make a new map, the game won't just know that you want a theme because you have to design it yourself. So instead, the game uses this invalid theme as a sort of blank canvas for the maps. The reason it is pink is most likely due to how easy it is to spot in the environments of Fable, making it easier to see where a designer might have missed a spot when filling the map with different themes. I could have mentioned this one earlier, but I decided to give it its own spot so I can show it more clearly, no pun intended. So as we know, it's not normally possible to exit the boundaries of the map unless you install the Free Roam app. Once you've installed the mod and are able to walk wherever you want, possible to enter the water like I had shown earlier. However, something I didn't mention was how the camera fixes to the top of the water, which prevents you from seeing your character and can mess with the direction that the player is facing. This is probably a bug that was never meant to be fixed, since the hero is never meant to be this submerged in water anyways. An easy way to traverse the lakes of Albion is to roll around when underneath them, since rolling forces you to go a single direction. Another weird oddity that I noticed is that for some reason, if you check the walk section of Chocolate Box for this map, for some reason the vanilla game already has the ability to walk on the water, but like you can't even access that part of the map anyways, so I don't know why it's been filled in. And lastly for this video, we'll see what happens if we delete our STB file, which can be found inside your game's levels folder. If you were wondering what the STB file is, it determines the terrain for the game and needs to be generated into one big file whenever new maps are created. So by deleting the STB file, the game has no terrain to load, and instead it makes everything look like it's suspended in the air. What's weird is that deleting the STB file doesn't necessarily affect the game, so the boundaries of the map are still there. The height that the terrain is supposed to have is still there. The only real difference is that you just can't see the terrain. Make sure to restore your STB back from your recycle bin if you want to bring the terrain back. There's still more of these to go through that I have written down, but I think that's enough for today. If you know of any others I could add into a future video, that would also be appreciated. A link to my Discord server where you can talk to me about it can be found in the description. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you've enjoyed your time watching this video.